Hi, my name is Shinko. Welcome to my channel. We have been attempting to escape the horrors of reality with The Warriors, The Forest of Secrets, which is the third book in the series. If you're new, hi, welcome. I have read the other two books. If you like cats and are interested in a new series, hey, check it out. It is by Erin Hunter, which is actually an alias for 4 different authors that work together. So, a trigger warning, however, if you are new, there is life and death. Characters do come and go. So if you cannot handle that type of thing, you're not going to enjoy this series. So we left off we're right at the end of chapter 2. Now, Fireheart has just found out some crucial information that could potentially lead to the actual truth of what happened that day. And that day, I mean by Oakheart's death, along with Redtail, and the possibility of treachery from Tiger Claw being the cause of it. So they left during the gathering when they shouldn't have, and lied to a witness, Sandstorm. And they're about to come back without a single thing to show for it. We haven't got time to keep looking, Fireheart decided. He saw that the sky was already beginning to grow lighter. That time was running out. Their absence from camp was more likely to be noticed with every heartbeat. The dawn light was growing stronger as they reached the ravine, limbs aching with weariness, muscles stiff with cold. Fireheart led the way silently between the boulders towards the gorse tunnel. Thankful to be home at last, he bounded into the tunnel's dark mouth. As he emerged into the camp, he skidded to a halt so abruptly that Graystripe cannoned into him from behind. "Move, you big furball!" Graystripe gave a muffled mew. Fireheart didn't reply. Sitting a few tail lengths away, in the middle of the clearing, was Tiger Claw. His head was sunk below his massive shoulders, and his yellow eyes were gleaming with triumph. "Maybe you'd like to tell me where you've been," he growled, "and why it took you so long to get back from the gathering." Chapter 3. "Well," Tiger Claw challenged. "We thought we'd hunt." Fireheart raised his head to hold the deputy's angry gaze. "The clan needs fresh kill." "But we couldn't find anything," Graystripe added, coming to stand beside Fireheart. "Was the prey all curled up in their nests, eh?" Tiger Claw hissed. He padded forward until he stood nose to nose with Fireheart, sniffed him, and then did the same to Graystripe. "So, how is it then? The pair of you smell like mouse." Fireheart exchanged a glance with Graystripe. It seemed such a long time since they had hunted in the two-leg barn. They had forgotten that they might still be carrying the scent of the mice they ate. Graystripe looked back at him helplessly, anxiety making his eyes wide. "Blue Star should hear about this," the deputy growled. "Follow me." Fireheart and Graystripe had no choice but to obey. Tiger Claw led them across the clearing to Blue Star's den at the foot of the high rock, beyond the curtain of lichen that covered the entrance. Fireheart could see the clan leader curled up, apparently asleep, but as Tiger Claw shouldered his way into the den, she raised her head at once and sat up. "What is it, Tiger Claw?" she meowed, sounding puzzled. "These two brave warriors have been out hunting." Tiger Claw's voice was thick with contempt. "They're full fed, but they haven't brought home a single piece of fresh kill for the clan." Is this true? Bluestar turned her ice blue eyes on the young warriors. We weren't on a hunting patrol, Graystripe mumbled. That was true, thought Fireheart. Strictly speaking, they hadn't broken the warrior code by not bringing back any prey, but he knew it was still no real excuse. We ate the first prey we caught to keep up our strength, he meowed, and then we couldn't find anything else. We meant to bring back fresh kill, but our luck was out. Tiger Claw gave a snort of disgust, as if he didn't believe a word Fireheart had said. Even so, Bluestar meowed, with prey so scarce, every cat should think of the clan before themselves and share what they have. I'm disappointed in you both. Fireheart couldn't help feeling ashamed. Bluestar had brought him into the clan when he was a kitty pet, and he wanted to show her that he deserved her trust. If he had been alone with Bluestar, he might have tried to explain his real reason for being so late back to camp. But with Tiger Claw glaring at him, it was impossible. Besides, Fireheart wasn't ready to tell Bluestar about Ravenpaw's latest version of the Sunning Rocks battle. He wanted to speak to the cats of RiverClan first to confirm how Olcott really died. I'm sorry, Bluestar, he murmured. Sorry fills no bellies, Bluestar warned him. You must understand that the needs of the clan come first, especially in Leaf Bear. Until next sunrise, you'll hunt for the clan, not for yourselves. When the rest of the clan have eaten, then you can take food for yourselves. Her gaze softened. You both look exhausted, she observed. Go and sleep now. But I shall expect to see you hunting before sun high. Yes, Bluestar. Fireheart dipped his head and backed out of the den. Graystripe followed him, his fur fluffed up in a mixture of fear and embarrassment. I thought she'd have her tails off for sure, he meowed as the two cats turned towards the warrior's den. That you should think yourselves lucky. The low growl came from behind them. Fireheart glanced over his shoulder to see that Tiger Claw was padding after them. If I were clan leader, I'd have punished you properly. Fireheart felt his fur prickle with anger. His lips drew back in the beginnings of a snarl. Then he heard a warning hiss from Graystripe and bit back what he wanted to say, turning away from Tiger Claw again. That's right, kitty pet, Tiger Claw jeered. Slink back to your nest. Bluestar may trust you, but I don't. I saw you at the WindClan battle, don't forget. He bounded past the two younger cats and pushed his way into the warrior's den ahead of them. Graystripe let out a long, shivering breath. Fireheart, he meowed sullenly. You're either the bravest cat in all the clans or raving mad. For StarClan's sake, don't wind Tiger Claw up anymore. I didn't ask for him to hate me, Fireheart pointed out angrily. He slid through the branches to see Tiger Claw settling himself into his place near the center. The dark tabby ignored Fireheart, turning himself around 2 or 3 times before curling up to sleep. Fireheart made for his own sleeping place. Nearby, Sandstorm and Dustpot were stretched out together. Sandstorm sat up as Fireheart approached. Tiger Claw's been watching for you ever since we got back from the gathering, she whispered. I gave him your message, but I don't think he believed me. What did you do to tweak his tail? Fireheart felt comforted by the sympathetic look in her eyes, but he couldn't stop his jaws from gaping in a massive yawn. I'm sorry, Sandstorm, he mumbled. I've got to get some sleep. I'll talk to you later. He half expected Sandstorm to be offended, but instead she got up, padded over to him, and as he settled into the soft moss that lined the floor of the den, she crouched down beside him and pressed her side against his. Dustpelt opened one eye and glared at Fireheart. He let out a snort and pointedly turned his back. But Fireheart was too tired to worry about Dustpelt's jealousy. He was already drifting into sleep. As his eyes closed, his last sensation was of Sandstorm's fur warm against his flank. Fireheart paced along the hunting trail. His body felt full of energy, and he opened his jaws to taste the scent of prey. He knew he was dreaming, but he felt his belly grow in anticipation of fresh kill. Bracken arched over his head. A bright, pearly light poured down on him, as if the moon was full in a cloudless sky. Every fern frond, every blade of grass glowed, and the pale shades of primroses clustering thickly beside the path seemed to shine with a light of their own. All around him, Fireheart could feel the damp warmth of New Leaf. The icy snow-covered camp seemed 9 lives away. As the path began to lead upward, another cat stepped down in front of him. Fireheart halted, his heart thudding as he recognized Spotted Leaf. The tortoiseshell cat padded forward until she could touch her soft pink nose to his. Fireheart rubbed his face against hers, a purr rising from deep inside him. When Fireheart first came to the forest, Spotted Leaf had been the ThunderClan medicine cat. She had been killed in cold blood by the invading ShadowClan warrior. Fireheart missed her still, but her spirit had returned to him in dreams more than once. Spotted Leaf took a pace back. "Come, Fireheart," she mewed. "I want to show you something." She turned and padded softly away, glancing around from time to time to make sure he was following. Fireheart bounded after her, admiring the dapple of moonlight on her fur. Soon they came to the top of the hill. Spotted Leaf led him out of the bracken tunnel and onto a high, grassy ridge. "Look!" she meowed, raising her muzzle to point. Fireheart blinked. Instead of the familiar span of trees and fields ahead of him, a shining expanse of water stretched as far as he could see. The reflected light dazzled him, and he closed his eyes. Where had all this water come from? He couldn't even tell if this was clan territory. The silver sheen flattened everything and hid the usual landmarks. Spotted Leaf's sweet scent filled the air around him. Her voice sounded close to his ear. "Remember, Fireheart," she murmured. "Water can quench fire." Startled, Fireheart opened his eyes again. A chill breeze flooded the surface of the water, penetrating his fur. Spotted Leaf was gone. As Fireheart turned in every direction, searching for her, the light began to fade. The warmth went with it, and the feeling of grass under his paws, in less than a heartbeat, he was plunged into cold, wet darkness. "Fireheart! Fireheart!" A cat was nudging him. Fireheart tried to duck away and heard his name called again. It was Graystripe's voice. Fireheart focused his eyes open to see the big gray cat crouched anxiously over him. "Fireheart!" he repeated. "Wake up! It's nearly sun-high!" Grunting with effort, Fireheart hauled himself out of his nest and sat up. Pale, cold light was filtering through the branches of the den. Willowpelt and Darkstripe still slept closer to the center of the bush, but Sandstorm and Dustpelt had left already. Willowpelt and Darkstripe. Sandstorm and Dustpelt had left already. "You were muttering in your sleep," Graystripe told him. "Are you okay?" "What?" Fireheart had not yet shaken off the dream. It was always a bitter waking to realize that Spotted Leaf was dead, and he would never speak to her again, except in his dreams. "It's nearly sun high," repeated Graystripe. "We should be out hunting." "I know," Fireheart mewed, fighting to wake up properly. "Hurry up then." His friend gave him a final nudge before heading out of the den. "Meet you at the gorse tunnel." Fireheart licked one paw and rubbed it over his face. As his head cleared, he suddenly remembered Spotted Leaf's warning. Water can quench fire. What was she trying to tell him? Fireheart thought back to Spotted Leaf's earlier prophecy that fire would save the clan. As he followed Graystripe out of the den, Fireheart found himself shivering, and not from cold. He could feel trouble gathering, like rain, heavy storm clouds. If the water that was coming quenched fire, then what would save the clan? Did Spotted Leaf's words mean that ThunderClan was doomed? Chapter 4. Fireheart bounded up the ravine, the snow crisp under his paws. The sun shone in a pale blue sky, and though there was little warmth in its rays, the sight of it cheered Fireheart and made him hopeful that New Leaf was not far away. Just behind him, Graystripe echoed Fireheart's thoughts. "With any luck, the sun will bring some prey out." "Not if they hear you stomping along," Sandstorm teased as she scrambled past him. Brackenpaw, Graystripe's apprentice, protested loyally. "He doesn't stomp!" But Graystripe only responded with a good-natured growl. Fireheart felt new energy flow into his limbs. Even though their duties today were meant as punishment, no cat had told them they had to hunt alone, and it was good to be with friends. Fireheart winced at the memory of Bluestar's ice-cold gaze when she had rebuked him and Graystripe for apparently hunting for themselves. He would make up for lying to her by bringing back as much fresh kill as he could. The clan needed it badly. By the time he and Graystripe left the den that morning, the store of prey in the camp had almost gone, and most of the cats had already left to hunt. Fireheart had spotted Tigerclaw on his way back down the ravine with the morning patrol. A squirrel was clamped in his jaws, its long tail brushing the snow. The deputy's eyes narrowed menacingly as he passed Fireheart, but he did not put his prey down to speak. At the top of the slope, Sandstorm ran on ahead, while Graystripe began showing Brackenpaw where to search for mice among the tree roots. Watching them, Fireheart couldn't suppress a pang of loss as he thought of Cinderpaw, who had been his own apprentice. She would be with them now if it hadn't been for her accident. Instead, her crippled leg, the result of an accident on the Thunder Path, kept her in the den with Yellowfang, the ThunderClan medicine cat. Pushing away these heavy thoughts, he crept forward, his jaws parted as he examined the forest smells. A faint breeze stirred the surface of snow and brought a familiar scent. Rabbit! Lifting his head, Fireheart could see the brown-furred creature snuffling under a clump of bracken, where a few green spikes of grass poked through the snow. He dropped into a hunting crouch, delicately, paw step by paw step, drew closer. At the last moment, the rabbit sensed him and sprang up, but it was too late. Before it could even squeal, Fireheart pounced. Triumphantly, Fireheart headed back to the camp, dragging the rabbit along with him. As soon as he entered the clearing, he saw with relief that the pile of fresh kill was swelling again after the morning patrols. Bluestar was standing beside it. "Well done, Fireheart," she meowed as he brought the rabbit to the pile. "Will you take that straight to Yellowfang in her den?" Warmed by his leader's approval, Fireheart hauled the rabbit across the clearing. A tunnel of ferns, brown and brittle now, led to the secluded corner of the camp where the ThunderClan medicine cat had her den inside a split rock. Ducking under the ferns, Fireheart saw Yellowfang lying in the mouth of her den with her paws tucked under her chest. Cinderpaw sat in front of her, her smoky gray fur fluffed up and her blue eyes focused on the medicine cat's broad face. "Now, Cinderpaw," came the old cat's rasping mew. "One Eye's paw pads are cracked because of the cold. What are we going to do for her?" Marigold leaves in case of infection," Cinderpaw replied promptly. "Ointment of yarrow to soften the pads and help them heal. Poppy seed if she's in any pain." "Well done," purred Yellowfang. Cinderpaw sat up even straighter, and her eyes shone with pride. As Fireheart knew only too well, the medicine cat didn't give praise lightly. "Right. You could take her the leaves and the ointment," meowed Yellowfang. "She won't need the poppy seed unless the cut gets worse." Cinderpaw stood up and was on her way into the den when she caught sight of Fireheart standing by the tunnel. Mewing in delight, she hurried over to him with an awkward lurching gait. Regret stabbed at Fireheart, sharp as a claw. Cinderpaw had been a ceaseless bundle of energy before the Thunderpath accident that crushed her leg. Now she would never run properly again, and had to give up her dreams of becoming a ThunderClan warrior. But the Thunderpath monster had not crushed her bright spirit. Her eyes were dancing as she reached Fireheart. "Fresh kill!" she exclaimed. "Is that for us? Great!" "About time, too," grumbled Yellowfang, still sitting inside her den. "Mind you, the rabbit's very welcome," she added. "We had half the clan in here since sunrise complaining about some ache or another." Fireheart carried the rabbit across the clearing and dropped it in front of the medicine cat. Yellowfang poked it with one paw. "It might have a bit of flesh on his bones for once," she remarked grudgingly. "All right, Cinderpaw, take the marigold leaves and the yarrow to One Eye and hurry back. If you're quick, there might be some rabbit left." Cinderpaw purred and brushed Yellowfang's shoulder with the tip of her tail as she went past her into the den. Softly, Fireheart mewed. "How's she doing? Is she settling down?" "She's fine," snapped Yellowfang. "Stop worrying about her." Fireheart wished he could. Cinderpaw had been his apprentice. He couldn't help feeling that he had been partly responsible for her accident. He should have stopped her from going to the Thunderpath alone. Then he brought himself up short, remembering exactly how the accident had happened. Tigerclaw had asked Bluestar to meet him by the Thunderpath, but Bluestar had been too ill to go. Few warriors were in the camp. Fireheart himself had been about to leave on an urgent mission for catnip to treat Bluestar's green cough. He had told Cinderpaw not to go meet Tigerclaw instead of him, but Cinderpaw had ignored his order. The accident had happened because Tigerclaw had placed his scent marker too close to the edge of the Thunderpath. Fireheart suspected that it was meant as a trap for Bluestar, and Tigerclaw was responsible. As Fireheart said goodbye to Yellowfang and went back to hunting, he felt a new surge of determination to bring Tigerclaw's guilt into the open. For the sake of Redtail, murdered, for Ravenpaw driven from the clan, for Cinderpaw crippled, and for all the clan cats, both now and to come, who were in danger from Tigerclaw's greed for power. It was the day after their hunting punishment. Fireheart had decided there was no time to lose before visiting RiverClan territory to discover how Elkhart had really died. He crouched at the edge of the forest and looked out towards the frozen river. The wind made a rustling sound in the dry reeds that poked up through the ice and snow. Beside him, Graystripe sniffed the breeze, alert for the scent of other cats. "I can smell River Clan cats," he whispered, "but the scent's old. I think we can cross safely." Fireheart realized he was more worried about cats from his own clan seeing them than meeting an enemy patrol. Already, Tiger Claw suspected him of treachery. If the deputy found out what they were doing now, they'd be crow food. "All right," he whispered. "Let's go." Graystripe led the way confidently across the ice, keeping his weight low over his paws so that he didn't slip. At first, Fireheart was impressed. Then he realized that Graystripe had been crossing the river secretly for moons now to go and meet Silverstream. He followed more cautiously, half expecting the ice to crack under his weight and plunge him into the freezing dark water below. Here, downstream of the Sunning Rocks, the river itself was the boundary between the two clans. Fireheart's fur prickled as he crossed, and he kept glancing back to make sure no cat from his clan was watching. Once they reached the far bank, they crept into the shelter of a reed bed and sniffed the air again for signs of River Clan cats. Fireheart was conscious of Graystripe's unspoken fear. Every muscle of the Grey Warrior's body was tense as he peered through the reed stems. "We must both be mad," he hissed. "You made me promise to meet Silverstream at Fortune's whenever I wanted to see her, and now here we are, in River Clan territory again," Graystripe protested. "I know," Fireheart answered, "but there's no other way. We need to talk to a River Clan cat, and Silverstream's more likely to help us than any of the others." He was just as apprehensive as his friend. They were surrounded by scents of River Clan, though none of them were fresh. To Fireheart, it felt as if he were a kitty pet in the forest for the first time again, lost in a frightening and unfamiliar place. Using the reeds for cover, the two cats began to work their way upstream. Fireheart tried to step lightly, as if he were stalking prey. His belly skimmed the snow. He was uncomfortably aware of how his flame-colored coat stood out against the white surface. The scent of River Clan cats was growing more powerful, and he guessed the camp must be nearby. "How much further?" he meowed softly to Graystripe. "Not far. See that island up ahead?" They had come to a place where the river carved away from ThunderClan territory and grew wider. Not far ahead, a small island, surrounded by reed beds, showed above the frozen surface. Willow trees stooped low from the banks of the island. The tips of the overhanging branches trapped the ice. "An island?" Fireheart echoed in amazement. "But what happens when the river isn't frozen? Do they swim across?" "Silverstream says the water's very shallow there," Graystripe explained, "but I've never been right into the camp myself." Beside them, the ground sloped gently upward away from the reedy shore. At the top, gorse and hawthorn grew thickly, with the occasional holly showing green and shiny under its coating of snow. But there was a bare expanse of shore between the reeds and the sheltering bushes, with no cover for prey or cats. Graystripe had been moving forward in a low crouch. Now he lifted his head, scenting the air and looking warily around. Then, without warning, he sprang away from the reeds and dashed up the slope. Fireheart raced after him, his paws skidding in the snow. Reaching the bushes, they plunged between the branches and stopped, gasping for breath. Fireheart listened for the yelling of an alerted patrol, but no sound came up from the camp. He flopped down on the dead leaves and puffed out a sigh of relief. "We can see the entrance of the camp from here," Graystripe told him. "I used to wait here for Silverstream." Fireheart hoped she would come soon. Every moment they spent here increased their chances of discovery. Shifting his position so he had a good view of the slope and the island camp, he could just make out the silhouettes of cats moving around. He was so intent on trying to peer into the thick bushes that screened the island that he didn't see the tabby, who was padding past their hiding place until she was barely a tail length away. She carried a small squirrel in her jaws, and her gaze was fixed on the frozen ground. Fireheart froze in a crouch, ready to spring out if the cat spotted them, and tracked her with his gaze as she passed. Luckily, he thought, the scent of the prey she was carrying must have masked the scent of ThunderClan intruders. Suddenly, he realized that a group of 4 cats, led by Leopard Fur, the RiverClan deputy, had emerged from the camp. Leopard Fur was fiercely hostile towards ThunderClan ever since her patrol had come upon Fireheart and Graystripe trespassing on RiverClan territory as they returned from bringing WindClan home. A RiverClan cat had died in the ensuing fight, and Leopard Fur did not forgive easily. If she discovered Fireheart and Graystripe now, she wouldn't even give them a chance to explain what they were doing on this side of the river. To Fireheart's relief, the patrol didn't come their way. Instead, they set off across the frozen river towards the Sunning Rocks. Off to patrol the border, Fireheart guessed. At last, a familiar silver Graystripe appeared. "Silverstream!" purred Graystripe. Fireheart watched the RiverClan she-cat stepping delicately across the ice towards the bank. She was certainly beautiful, he realized, with a finely shaped head and thick, sleek fur. No wonder Graystripe was captivated by her. Graystripe rose to his paws, ready to call out to her, when 2 other cats emerged from the camp and ran to catch up with Silverstream. One of them was the smoky black warrior, Blackclaw, recognizable from the gatherings by his long legs and lean body, and a smaller cat Fireheart guessed must have been Blackclaw's apprentice. "Hunting patrol," Graystripe murmured. All 3 cats began to climb the slope. Fireheart let out a hiss, half impatient, half fear. He had hoped they would be able to speak to Silverstream alone. How could they separate her from her companions? What if Blackclaw scented the intruders? After all, he wasn't carrying a helpful mouthful of prey to block his scent glands. Blackclaw took the lead with his apprentice, and Silverstream followed a tail length or 2 behind. As the patrol reached the bushes, Silverstream paused, her ears pricked warily, as if she detected a familiar but unexpected scent. Graystripe let out a short, sharp hiss, and Silverstream's ears swiveled towards the sound. "Silverstream!" Graystripe mewed softly. The she-cat flicked her ears, and Fireheart let out the breath he had been holding. She heard. "Blackclaw!" she called to the warrior ahead of her. "I'll try for a mouse in the bushes here. Don't wait for me." Fireheart heard an answering mew from Blackclaw. Moments later, Silverstream slipped through the branches until she reached the space where the young ThunderClan warriors were crouching. She pressed herself against Graystripe, purring loudly, and the 2 cats rubbed their faces together with obvious delight. "I thought you only wanted us to meet at Fort Trees," Silverstream meowed when the 2 cats finished their greeting. "What are you doing here?" "I brought Fireheart to see you," Graystripe explained. "He needs to ask you something." Fireheart had not spoken to Silverstream since he had let her escape in the battle. He guessed she was remembering that too, for she dipped her head graciously towards him, with no trace of the defensive hostility she had shown when he tried to discourage her from seeing Graystripe at the start of the relationship. "Yes, Fireheart?" "What do you know about the battle at the Sunning Rocks, where Oakheart died?" Fireheart launched straight in. "Were you there?" "No," Silverstream replied. She looked thoughtful. "Is it very important?" "Yes, it is. Could you ask some cat who was? "I'll do better than that," Silverstream interrupted him. "I'll bring Mistyfoot to talk to you herself." Fireheart exchanged a glance with Graystripe. Was that a good idea? "It's okay," meowed Silverstream, as if she guessed what was worrying him. "Mistyfoot knows about me and Graystripe. She doesn't like it, but she won't give me away. She'll come now if I ask her." Fireheart hesitated, then dipped his head in assent. All right, thanks. He had hardly finished speaking before Silverstream turned and slid out of the bushes again. Fireheart watched her bounding through the snow towards camp. Isn't she great? Graystripe murmured. Fireheart said nothing, but settled down to wait. He was getting more nervous with every moment that passed. If he and Graystripe stayed in RiverClan territory for much longer, some of the RiverClan cats were bound to find them. They would be lucky to escape, even with their fur intact. Graystripe, he began, if Silverstream can't... Just then, he saw the silver-gray tabby crossing the ice from the camp again, with another cat behind her. They raced up the slope, and Silverstream led the way into the bushes. The cat she brought with her was a slender queen, with thick gray fur and blue eyes. For a heartbeat, Fireheart thought she seemed familiar. He decided he must have seen her at a gathering. When the queen saw Fireheart and Graystripe, she stopped dead. Her fur began to rise suspiciously, and she flattened her ears against her head. Mistyfoot, meowed Silverstream quietly. These are ThunderClan cats, hissed Mistyfoot. What are they doing here in RiverClan territory? Mistyfoot, listen! Silverstream went over to her friend and tried to nudge her towards Fireheart and Graystripe. Mistyfoot stood her ground. Fireheart couldn't help feeling daunted by the look of blank hostility in her eyes. Had he been stupid to think RiverClan would help him? I can't kept your secret about him, Mistyfoot reminded Silverstream, jerking her chin at Graystripe. But I'm not going to keep quiet if you start bringing the whole of ThunderClan here. Don't be ridiculous, Silverstream retorted. It's all right, Mistyfoot, Fireheart put in quickly. We haven't taken any of your prey. We're not here to spy. We need to speak to a cat who fought in the battle at Sunning Rocks, where Elkhart died. Why? Mistyfoot narrowed her eyes. It's hard to explain, Fireheart meowed. But it's nothing that could harm RiverClan. I swear that by StarClan, he added. The young queen seemed to relax, and this time she let Silverstream urge her forward until she was sitting beside Fireheart. Graystripe stood up, ducking his head to avoid the low-hanging branches. If you two are going to talk, Silverstream and I will leave you to it. Fireheart opened his mouth to protest, alarmed at the idea of being left alone in enemy territory, but Graystripe and Silverstream were already slipping out of the bushes. Just before they vanished among the tough hawthorn branches, Graystripe looked back. Oh, Fireheart, he meowed quietly. Before you go back, make sure you ruin something strong to hide the RiverClan scent. He blinked in embarrassment. Fox dung is good. Wait, Graystripe! Fireheart jumped to his paws, but it was no use. Graystripe and Silverstream were gone. Don't worry, meowed Mistyfoot behind him. I won't eat you. You'd give me bellyache. Fireheart turned back to see her, blue eyes sparkling with amusement. You're Fireheart, aren't you? She went on. I've seen you at the gatherings. They say you used to be a kitty pet. Her voice was cool, with thinly veiled suspicion. That's true, Fireheart admitted heavily, feeling the familiar sting at the contempt of clan-born cats for his past. But I'm a warrior now. Mistyfoot licked her paw and drew it slowly over one ear, keeping her eyes fixed on his face. All right, she meowed at last. I fought in the battle. What do you want to know? Fireheart paused for a moment, putting his thoughts in order. He would only have one chance to find out the truth. He mustn't make any mistakes. Get on with it, growled Mistyfoot. I've left my kits to come and talk to you. It won't take long. What can you tell me about the way Elkhart died? Elkhart? Mistyfoot looked down at her paws. After a deep breath, she lifted her eyes to Fireheart again. Elkhart was my father. Did you know that? No. I didn't, meowed Fireheart. I'm sorry, I never met him, but they say he was a brave warrior. He was the best and the bravest, Mistyfoot agreed. And he should have never died. It was an accident. Fireheart felt his heart begin to race. This was exactly what he needed to know. Are you sure? He asked. No cat killed him? He was wounded in the battle, but not enough to kill him, meowed Mistyfoot. Afterward, we found his body under some fallen rocks. Our medicine cat said that was what killed him. So no cat was responsible, Fireheart muttered. Ravenpaw was right. What? The blue-gray queen frowned. Nothing, Fireheart meowed hastily. Nothing important. Thank you, Mistyfoot. That's just what I wanted to know. Then if that's all... No, Mistyfoot, wait! There's one more thing. In the battle, one of our cats heard Oakheart say that no ThunderClan cat should harm Stonefur. Do you know what he meant by that? The RiverClan queen was silent for a while, her blue eyes gazing into the distance. Then she shook her head firmly, as if she were flicking water off it. Stonefur is my brother, she meowed. Then Oakheart was his father too, Fireheart realized. Is that why he wanted to protect him from ThunderClan cats? No! Mistyfoot's eyes flashed blue fire. Oakheart never tried to protect either of us. He wanted us to be warriors like him. Bring honor to the clan. Then why? I don't know. She sounded as if she was genuinely puzzled. Fireheart tried not to feel disappointed. At least he knew for certain now that how Oakheart had died. But he couldn't shake off the feeling that what Oakheart had said about Stonefur was important. If only he could understand it. My mother might know, Mistyfoot meowed unexpectedly. Fireheart turned back to her, his ears pricked. Graypool, she added. If she can't explain it, no cat can. Could you ask her? Maybe. But it might be better for you to speak to her yourself. Fireheart blinked in surprise that Mistyfoot would suggest such a thing when she seemed so hostile at first. Can I? He asked. No? No, Mistyfoot decided after a pause. It's too risky for you to stay any longer. Leopard's patrol will be back soon. Besides, Graypool is an elder now and hardly ever leaves the camp. She'll take some persuading before she'll come out. But don't worry, I'll think of a reason. Fireheart bowed his head in reluctant agreement. Part of him was wildly impatient to hear what Graypool had to say, but the rest of him knew that Mistyfoot was right. How will I know where to meet her? I'll send a message with Silverstream, Mistyfoot promised. Now go! If Leopardfur finds you here, I won't be able to help you. Fireheart blinked at her. He would have liked to give the young queen a lick of gratitude, but he was afraid of getting a clawed ear in return. Mistyfoot seemed to have gotten over the worst of her hostility, but she still wasn't going to let him forget that they came from two separate clans. Thank you, Mistyfoot. I won't forget this. And if ever I could do anything for you, just go, Mistyfoot hissed, as Fireheart slipped past her towards the gap in the bushes. And don't forget the fox dung. Chapter 5, I am ending it there. Okay. So, if we remember, in the prologue, in the prologue, wasn't it Graypool, the queen, that Oakheart suddenly brought some kits to? Okay, at this point we're just drawing a line, a connection. There's no 100% confirmation yet because obviously only Graypool And Oakheart knows. And Oakheart's dead. So Greypool is the last cat that would know the answer to that. Who are those two kids? Where are they now? Are they warriors in River Clan? Are they miniature cats? What are those two kids? What is important about these kids? But he also, Fireheart we found out for certain, Oakheart died as an accident. And so, there was no reason for Tiger Claw to kill Redtail, or even claim to kill Oakheart. So it is official. We know for certain Tiger Claw's a bad guy. No, we could kind of guess. We could kind of guess he was a bad guy from the beginning. He wasn't a cat you could trust. You could guess that from the beginning. But this actually confirms it now. We have evidence of said distrust. Okay, so how do you think the meeting with Greypool is going to go in Fireheart? I'm going to ask you this. Stonefur is the brother of Mistyfoot, which is the cat we just talked to, and the cat that just said, that that's her brother, and Oakheart was her dad. So right now, it is looking like it's a possibility that this Stonefur and Mistyfoot might be related to those kids. Might know those kids. Or they might be the kids themselves. Who knows? Either way, I hope you have a wonderful day. Please be safe out there in this crazy, mixed up universe of ours. Bye.